We're catching up with what I would like to call a Swedish indie game veteran, someone who's been involved in the indie scene in Sweden for a very long time, Erik, and we're catching up on Heart.Break, a game that's been out for a few months already. Can you first sort of give us an idea of what kind of game is this?
Yeah, so on the surface it's an adventure game, point-and-click adventure game. What makes it different though is it's kind of in this simulated world, so it's not just a static world, but it's a simulation with people living their lives in the simulation. And it's also about hacking, so eventually the world kind of opens up to you and you can modify the game from within itself.
Sounds very abstract and so on. But can you give us sort of a concrete example of what that means in sort of
Yeah, so you play this character who he's this young guy who moves away from home and he gets a shitty job in the city, and eventually he kind of falls in love with a girl and wants to impress on her, and she's a hacker. So he tries to learn how to program and hack, and you can do a lot of different things, like for example you could hack your coffee to make you less sleepy, or you could make some drink make you less like smell better, or make you drunk or make you not drunk, and stuff like that. And yeah, all the different objects in the game kind of has this way of opening up like different abilities to you as you learn how to modify them with programming.
Sounds a little bit open-ended, and that's not always the case with point and click. Is it open-ended, or is it that more like to explore and find the correct path?
It is kind of one story, like with multiple endings, but it's one storyline. It's very open though to like let you do whatever you want. Like you can go explore in any direction in the city from the start and so on. So it doesn't try to force you to do anything in particular. Instead, it tries to make cool things happen to you as you walk around, and things kind of fall into your lap in a way. But not particular things, but more like things that move you along the storyline.
So, love as a theme for a game, and sort of relationship as a theme. How do you approach that, and sort of how do you make that sort of feel comfortable, if you will, for the player?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing to do, and I don't know. Like for starters, I wrote the whole game in Swedish, which is my native tongue, so that was very fun to do. And so the game has a lot of comedy in like its dialogue and so on, so I've worked a lot on making the characters feel very believable and endearing, and I think that's part of what makes that work in the end. Like if you actually like the characters, it's easier to pretend that you fall in love with them, even though of course it's up to you if you really fall in love or just pretend.
Play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's very interesting. What's the reactions been like to this game since release?
Yes, we've had pretty good reactions, I would say. Like some people love the whole hacking thing, and some people just like that it's like this open world you could like go to parties and like meet these weird characters who feel really like they're real characters. So that's been really cool. Some people find it too easy because they're so good at programming that they break the whole game and they become like this super hacker that just breaks everything and can beat the game in half an hour. So that's a problem but for most people the difficulty seems to be about right. Yep.
It's funny that, because a lot of the time people who are too good at games and they say, oh, it's too easy, they are the ones who love the game the most because they get so powerful, because they get that sense of empowerment as well. So
sure, yeah, I think they like the game, but they still like to complain also. So.
Maybe that's part of the enjoyment. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But so do you have any further plans with the game, or is it move on to the next idea, or how do you see it?
I mean, we're still patching the game and trying to make it better in some ways, fixing bugs and so on. And I have some ideas for like a bigger content patch, so I think we're gonna do something like that. But eventually we're gonna move on. And I mean, this was like an experiment for me with all these ideas about how to tell stories through games. So I've learned a ton. Like, it took 5 years to make the game, so I've learned a ton from all those experiments that it took to make the game. So eventually I want to put like all that knowledge into a new game and start afresh. Yeah.
Because the indie thing to do is to make something completely different, right?
Yeah, but I've been doing completely different things now, like moving around between genres and so on. So I feel like maybe it's time to do not a sequel, but to start owning some of those old ideas and make them into better ones. Yeah.
Go deep into one area that you've explored before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.